Most people earn far less than their worth, and the gap has nothing to do with their skills. According to the United States Census Bureau's 2025 data release, the median individual income in America is $53,010 a year, while the threshold to reach the top 25% of earners sits at around $106,000 for full-time workers. That means the distance between where most Americans are and a $150,000 salary is not a gap in talent. Research consistently shows it is a gap in psychology, specifically in understanding how the brain actually processes what a person believes they are worth and how that belief gets communicated, or fails to get communicated, in every salary conversation they ever have. Let's start with the most expensive mistake American workers make, because the data on this is striking. CareerBuilder Research and a Pew Research Center survey both find that roughly 55% of job candidates do not attempt to negotiate their salary when offered a new position. 55% just accept the first number they see. And yet, according to research compiled across every major salary negotiation study published in 2024 and 2025, those who do negotiate receive an average of 18.83% more than those who accept the initial offer. 66% of people who ask for more get it. Meanwhile, 73% of employers say they are willing to negotiate. The employer is waiting. Most people never show up. So why does this happen? The answer is not confidence, not experience, not industry. It is a specific pattern of psychological reasoning that behavioral economists have studied for decades, and it starts with how the brain constructs the idea of what you are worth. Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky first documented the anchoring effect in their foundational work on cognitive biases. The core finding is this: when a person is asked to make an estimate or a judgment under uncertainty, their brain does not calculate from a neutral starting point. It latches onto the first relevant number it encounters and adjusts from there. In a salary context, this means whoever says a number first sets the psychological reference point for the entire negotiation. If an employer names a number first, your brain starts there. If you name a number first, and you name it well above what you expect, the employer's brain starts there. The first number wins. Research by psychologist Todd Thorsteinson, published in the Journal of Applied Social Psychology, tested the limits of this effect and found something remarkable. Even when a job candidate mentioned an implausibly high salary figure, framed as a joke, it still raised the final offer. In one experiment, candidates who jokingly referenced a high number received offers averaging $35,385 compared to $32,463 for those who did not anchor at all. A joke moved the needle by nearly $3,000. That is not a negotiation tactic. That is a demonstration of how powerfully the brain is controlled by the first number it receives. Most people never use this to their advantage because they are afraid of appearing greedy. CareerBuilder's research confirms this. 53% of workers who avoided negotiating said they were not comfortable asking for more. 48% feared the employer would not hire them, and 38% did not want to seem greedy. Here is the behavioral reality underneath each of those fears. Your discomfort is a feeling, not a fact. The employer's mental model of your value is not fixed. It is updated in real time by what you communicate. And appearing greedy by asking for market rate compensation is not a thing that happens in the minds of professional hiring managers. What they register is whether you know your value and whether you are someone who advocates for yourself. Both of those qualities signal that you will also advocate for the organization. There is a second psychological force that keeps income stagnant, and it operates below the level of explicit negotiation. It is the income ceiling you build inside your own identity. Psychologists who study self-concept and financial behavior have consistently found that people anchor their expectations of earning to their recent history. If you have always earned $60,000 or $70,000, that number feels normal. The brain treats what is familiar as what is safe, and what is safe as what is appropriate. Asking for $150,000 does not just feel audacious in a strategic sense. It feels wrong at an identity level, like you are claiming something you are not entitled to. That feeling is not a signal about your actual market value. It is a cognitive artifact of your earning history. and it is one of the most expensive psychological patterns you will ever allow to run unchallenged. The remedy for this, and this is where behavioral science gets genuinely practical, is what researchers call identity decoupling. You separate the number you are requesting from the story you tell yourself about who earns that number. The way to do this is not to pump yourself up with affirmations. It is to use external market data as the anchor instead of your internal sense of what feels right. When your salary request is grounded in a Bureau of Labor Statistics figure, a LinkedIn salary report, or a pay transparency posting for your industry, you are no longer asking for something personal. You are stating a market condition. The employer's brain processes that differently, and your brain processes making the request differently, because you are not claiming something about yourself. You are reporting something about the market. This distinction matters enormously in practice. The phrase, "I'd like to earn X," plants a flag and invites argument. The phrase, "Based on the current market data for this role in this region, the range runs between X and Y, I'm targeting the upper end of that," is a different conversational act entirely. You have anchored high, you have grounded the anchor in verifiable reality, and you have left room for the employer to feel they are making a reasonable offer, while still landing you significantly above the midpoint. Let's talk about the compounding math of this, because it is one of the most striking arguments for treating salary negotiation as a behavioral skill worth developing. The average annual pay raise for a worker who stays at their current company is roughly 3%, according to compensation data through 2024. But the average salary increase for someone who switches jobs, according to the same period's data, is 13.9%. Over a 10-year career, that difference in trajectory can mean hundreds of thousands of dollars in total earnings. Not through working more hours, but through understanding that the external labor market reprices you more generously than your current employer's raise cycle ever will. And every dollar more you earn in year one of a new role compounds through every future raise and job offer that follows, because employers anchor their offers to your current salary in much the same way they anchor to the first number in a negotiation. Here is what commonly goes wrong even for people who intellectually understand all of this. They research their market rate, they plan their ask, they sit down with the hiring manager, and then they state a number and immediately start talking. Silence, after stating a salary number, feels unbearable. Your brain interprets it as social danger and rushes to fill it. You start hedging. You say things like, "But I'm flexible," or "I know that might be a lot," or "I understand if that's too high." Every word after the number reduces its psychological weight in the mind of the person across from you. Behavioral research on negotiation consistently finds that stated silence, saying a number and then holding the pause, is one of the highest value moves a person can make. Let the employer sit with the anchor you just set. Their brain is doing the work of adjustment. The moment you interrupt that process by softening your own position, you hand the leverage back. The other common pattern is waiting too long to have salary conversations at all. A 2025 survey found that 2 in 5 salaried employees did not receive a raise in the prior year, and among those who did, the average increase was only 4.6%. People who are underpaid relative to the market tend to stay that way because they treat salary conversations as events that happen to them during annual reviews, rather than as ongoing professional conversations they initiate. The behavioral shift is from reactive to proactive, raising the topic before you are frustrated, before a review cycle, ideally in a context where you have just delivered visible results. And now the concrete step for this week, because this channel is not about education for its own sake, it is about action. Here is the specific task. Go to LinkedIn Salary, the Bureau of Labor Statistics Occupational Outlook Handbook, or a pay transparency job posting in your industry, and find the current salary range for your role in your region. Then write a single sentence that states your target number, grounds it in that market data, and frames it as a range with your target at the upper end. Write it down. Rehearse it out loud twice. Out loud, not in your head, because behavioral research consistently shows that physically rehearsing a verbal act reduces the anxiety spike that occurs when you perform it for the first time in a high-stakes moment. You are essentially preconditioning your nervous system to treat the conversation as familiar rather than threatening. That one sentence, rehearsed until it feels natural, is the behavioral infrastructure for every salary conversation you have for the rest of your career. The $150,000 salary is not a number reserved for a specific type of person with a specific background. According to 2025 income data, it places an individual earner comfortably in the top 15% of American workers. The data on how people get there consistently shows that the gap is not primarily about education level, industry, or years of experience. It is about whether someone has learned to communicate their value clearly, anchor high with external data, and hold that anchor without apologizing for it. At NextGen Finance, that is exactly the kind of behavioral science we translate into practical tools, because understanding the psychology behind the numbers is what actually moves the numbers. If this kind of thinking helps you, subscribing means you will get every new framework as it comes out, built specifically around the behavioral and psychological patterns that determine financial outcomes, not just the financial concepts themselves. Leave me a comment with a specific, honest answer to this question. What is the highest salary number you have ever asked for in a negotiation? And looking back, do you think you asked for enough? I read every single comment, and your answer might shape the research direction for an upcoming script. This video is for educational purposes only and is not financial or investment advice. Please do your own research and consult a licensed financial professional before making any financial decisions.